Imran Khan's victory is historic for many reasons. First, Imran is a throwback to the earliest days of the formation of Pakistan. In some ways, he is an incarnation of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, albeit not quite so intellectual. What do I mean by that? Muhammad Ali Jinnah married a Parsi woman. He was a dandy who liked his fine suits, he ate his pork, he drank his scotch. He was very much a man who was exceedingly secular in his lifestyle, who liked the fine things in life, who apparently had a flavor for wine, women and song, purportedly at least. And Imran is a chap who's lived a playboy lifestyle, has been an international superstar, won the World Cup as a cricketer, and he is an unlikely candidate to be espousing devout values. And here he is, heading Pakistan in his religious avatar to some degree, talking about Islam, talking about faith. He's just married his spiritual advisor, a mother of 5. And the interesting thing is that just as in the early days, a religious state was created by a fundamentally secular leader, you now have a far more religious state headed by a far more un-Islamic character, even more than Muhammad Ali Jinnah. After all, Imran has reportedly, and as per court, of course, not a Pakistani court, fathered a love child. So it is a hilarious situation. Second, Imran's victory is not just a historic throwback to the eternal contradiction of Pakistan or Pakistani identity. It is a reflection of the rising aspirations of the youth of Pakistan. Pakistan is no longer a feudal society where big landlords can swan around and behave in the same manner as before and wield the same power as before, simply because of the urban explosion that is going on in Pakistan. The urbanization of Pakistan means that Sindh is huge. Sindh is an increasingly more important place in, Karachi is huge. Karachi is an increasingly more important place in Sindh than days of yore. Hence, you cannot have the Bhuttos and the current leader of the Bhutto party. I refuse to call it by its name simply because it is fundamentally a party that is open only to members of the Lucky Sperm Club, and Bilawal Bhutto speaks Urdu with a terrible English accent, and he's very similar to Rahul Gandhi, another chap with limited intelligence and much wanted inheritance. And so you cannot have the likes of Bilawal Bhutto swanning around and the youth of Karachi putting up with it, because you have the desire for social mobility in Pakistan, and Imran, for all his faults, and yes, he was privileged himself, but Imran did work hard, did win the World Cup, did bowl fast. At one point he bowled third fastest in the world. Imran reflects this aspiration in Pakistan for a meritocracy, for achievement, for corruption, and his party Tehreek-e-Insaf is a movement for justice, and that is what is very telling, is that Imran reflects this aspiration for justice. And so Imran's victory is a bit like the victory of populists in many parts of the world who have rejected a patently unjust status quo. Now, we do not know if the alternative may be worse than the status quo, but what we do know is people are not going to put up with the status quo. And the closest parallel you can give to Imran is perhaps none other than Narendra Modi across the border, who sold his outsider status and won the top position. And Imran is the outsider now ensconced in power. The third thing to note, and this is very important, the third implication of Imran's victory is that Pakistan has the resurgence of interference by the judiciary and the military. Now, some might argue, and in particular Americans and some English experts, so-called experts, most of whom don't speak Urdu at all, argue that this is terrible for democracy. The army rigged the election, the judiciary put the Sharifs in jail, both father and daughter, and it is true that the Sharifs certainly have great support in Punjab. It is also true that the military, intelligence and judicial nexus did play a role in sidelining other parties and did support Imran. But the fact of the matter is that different sections of Pakistani society, the military, which is not entirely all evil, or the intelligence services, which fundamentally are the institution that hold Pakistan together, and the judiciary, which of course has a very flawed and sometimes a laughable role. But these elements have pitched in their cards with a populist in the hope that a floundering state, a disintegrating state, a dysfunctional state might be able to survive. In some ways, this could be like the last throw of dice. And what do I mean by that? I mean it very simply. Pakistan today has a raging insurgency going on in different parts of the country. Pakistan is being inflicted by the traditional outside Pakistan is being manipulated by the traditional outside powers. There are the Saudis sending their version of Wahhabism. There are the Chinese bailing out a nearly bankrupt country. There is the IMF waiting in the wings to impose yet another flawed program. There is America. Of course, we've always talked about Allah Army and America defining Pakistan. There's America, which is conducting drone strikes and weakening the very idea of sovereignty of the Pakistani state. And so I personally think that Imran is in some ways this last bet that the elites are making by riding a populist wave of somehow holding together a fast disintegrating state.